My name is Geraldine. I am a consultant at EcoSustainability. I shall take about 40 minutes of your time to talk about the sustainability regulatory landscape in the Philippines. If you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them at the end of the talk. Before we begin, here is a short video on eco-sustainability. It's too loading, I'm sorry. Okay, that seems to be the problem. Right. EcoSustainability is a consulting firm headquartered in Singapore. We have at least 23 consultants, and we are present in 5 other countries, namely Malaysia, the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, and Cambodia. Our services include sustainability reporting, consulting, carbon credit, training, and policy advisory. We can do 17 standards. We are not merely standards users, we are standards contributors. We help shape the standards. We are standards contributors to the ISSB, VERA, SASB, SBTI, GHG Protocol, TNFD, GRI, and Gold Standard. Just a few housekeeping notes. The session is being recorded for learning purposes. And please keep your microphones muted to ensure clear audio. And again, please feel free to leave your videos on. So I'm not the only one whose video is on. Sorry. Excuse me. For this evening, we'll talk about why sustainability reporting matters. Sorry. ISSB and the Philippine adoption of ISSB, and how companies can prepare for the PFRS S1 and S2 compliance. By the end of the talk, I hope we have gained a clear understanding of sustainability reporting and how the ISSB sets global standards. Gain a clear overview of the Philippines ISSB adoption through PFRS S1 and S2, covering timelines, regulations, sectors, and transition reliefs, and learn practical steps companies can take, including strengthening governance, improving data systems, conducting materiality assessments, and preparing for GHG reporting and assurance. Why does mandatory sustainability reporting matter? Let's start with what sustainability reporting really is. I'd, li- I'd like to think of it as your company's annual checkup. Just like a doctor checks your heartbeat, blood pressure, and overall wellness, sustainability reporting looks at your company's environmental and social vitals. Things like energy use, employee well-being, responsible sourcing, and governance practices. Your financial report tells you how much money you made this year. Your sustainability report, on the other hand, tells you whether you can keep making money in the future without being disrupted by rising costs, climate risk, and social issues. Sustainability reporting is a public disclosure of a company's non-financial performance, its impacts, risks, and opportunities to help stakeholders make informed decisions based on the company's sustainability and long-term value. Environmental, social, and governance metrics are often used to determine how sustainable a company is. The Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission has adopted mandatory sustainability reporting requirements for publicly listed and now even for large non-listed companies with implementation beginning in the fiscal year 2026. So that's this year. Um, okay. We also have an international regulation. The EU CBAM is in its definitive phase in 2026 this year. And the first annual CBAM declaration for 2026 imports is due in 2027 by September 30. Reporting in this phase covers imported quantities and embedded emissions. CBAM applies to imports of cement, iron and steel, aluminum, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. For practical compliance, exporters supplying the EU should be ready to measure, document, and verify emissions data that EU importers can use in their CBAM declarations. This slide probably feels a bit overwhelming, and that was exactly the experience of many companies. There were so many frameworks, guidelines, and ratings, and none of them were fully aligned. For businesses, that created a real question. Where do you start? Which one actually matters? And which one do investors pay attention to? Many companies genuinely wanted to report properly, but the landscape felt fragmented, duplicative, and to be honest, exhausting. For years, sustainability reporting was not a clear path. It felt like a maze. As you know, there are a lot of standards and frameworks that have been developed, and they can be confusing, especially to the ever-changing ESG landscape. The good news is a consolidated global baseline called ISSB, the one to your left, short for the International Sustainability Standards Board, was created specifically to solve this problem. ISSB brings the most widely used frameworks into one global baseline for sustainability reporting. For businesses, this means you finally have a clear starting point, a consistent investor-focused standard that reduces duplication and simplifies reporting. In short, the ESG maze, the one you saw a while ago, is finally being mapped out, and companies now have a much clearer, much more streamlined path forward. So, what is ISSB? The International Sustainability Standards Board, or ISSB, was created under the International Financial Reporting Standards Foundation, or IFRS Foundation. I'm sure you're all familiar. At COP26 to bring the same discipline to sustainability reporting that IFRS brings to financial reporting. The ISSB standards are designed to be the global baseline for sustainability reporting. Given the fragmented landscape of sustainability reporting across the globe, the ISSB standards is designed to be the global baseline of sustainability reporting. The ISSB was built on the work of market-led, investor-focused reporting initiatives, including the Climate Disclosure Standards Board, as you can see here, the Task Force for Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, and industry-based Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. IFRS S1, General Sustainability Disclosures, sets the overall framework for sustainability-related financial disclosures. The unique thing about IFRS is that disclosures are developed in a way that information provided are curated for investors and the financial market. In other words, we are looking into how sustainability-related issues impact the company's financial prospects or financial performance. IFRS S2, climate-related disclosures, is a climate-specific standard that goes deeper into climate risks and opportunities, which is very timely, including your physical and transition risks, which I'll be discussing later. It should be used together with IFRS S1 to meet investor information needs, and it requires industry-specific disclosure supported by accompanying guidance built on SASB standards. How is ISSB being adopted around the world, and why should we use it? The reason is ISSB isn't just a concept on paper, it's being adopted worldwide. As you can see, as of June 2025, jurisdictions representing over half of global GDP here, it's 60% to be more accurate, have either adopted ISSB or are actively moving towards alignment. The message is clear. ISSB isn't just another framework. It's becoming the global reporting language. Regulators, investors, and capital markets are all pushing for one consistent baseline. So when your organization begins reporting US ISSB principles, you're not just meeting requirements. You're being part of a bigger change in the global market. Now let's see what this means for the Philippines. The Philippines has made sustainability reporting mandatory through PFRS S1, general requirements for disclosure of sustainability-related financial information, and PFRS S2, climate-related disclosures aligned with ISSB's IFRS S1 and S2. That's why they sound familiar. The Securities and Exchange Commission issued Memorandum Circular Number 16 in 2025, which took effect on January 8, 2026 to replace the earlier voluntary framework under SEC Memorandum Circular Number 4, Series of 2019. The earlier voluntary framework, this one, did not have standardized detailed disclosures, had a weak link to financial impacts, had limited climate-specific guidance, and had low comparability across companies. The Philippine Sustainability Reporting Committee, together with the Financial and Sustainability Reporting Standards Council, formally endorsed the adoption of IFRS S1 and S2, our global baseline sustainability standards, and recommended adopting them locally as PFRS S1 and S2. In other words, the Philippines isn't just reacting to global trends. This is a misconception about the Philippines, but there's a clear, deliberate plan led by a standard-setting bodies to integrate these international standards into our local reporting system. The adoption of ISSB signals a strong intention to make Philippine sustainability reporting globally aligned, credible, and future-ready. Now, this brings us to why the Philippines is aligning with ISSB and why this shift matters. At the heart of this move is a push for transparency, consistency, and comparability in sustainability reporting, and aligning with ISSB comes with several key benefits. These are just some of them. Global comparability. Philippine companies can now speak the same data language as global markets, making it easier to benchmark, collaborate, and compete internationally. Investor confidence. When sustainability information is reliable and consistent, investors can better assess risks and opportunities. That clarity builds trust, and trust attracts capital. Market readiness. More and more international markets, lenders, and global supply chains are requiring ISSB-aligned sustainability disclosures. Aligning early puts Philippine companies ahead of these expectations. Excuse me. Climate risk transparency. As one of the world's most climate vulnerable countries, there was a time we were actually number one. I think that was for 2 years. Because of many factors. As one of the world's most climate vulnerable countries, the Philippines needs clear, decision useful information about climate risks. ISSB alignment supports better planning, stronger resilience strategies, and smarter long-term decision making. So as we go into PFRS S1 and S2 in a moment, keep this in mind. This isn't just about adopting a new standard. It's about positioning Philippine businesses and the Philippine economy to navigate a climate-shaped future with clarity, credibility, and confidence. Let's take a look at the requirements, structure, and how to apply PFRS S1 and S2. PFRS S1 sets out the general framework for all sustainability-related risks and opportunities, just like IFRS S1, that could affect a company's prospects. Disclosures must be material to the company's cash flows, access to finance, or cost of capital over the short, medium, and long term. PFRS S2, on the other hand, focuses specifically on climate-related risks and opportunities, just like IFRS S2, building on PFRS S1 and requiring disclosures that are decision useful for investors around climate exposure. Both PFRS S1 and S2 follow the internationally recognized disclosure architecture, governance, board and management oversight of sustainability-related risks and opportunities, strategy, how these risks and opportunities affect the company's business model, strategy and cash flows, also its value chain, risk management, processes for identifying, assessing, and managing relevant sustainability risks, metrics and targets, quantitative metrics and associated targets, and how they relate to financial performance. Governance, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets for PFRS S2 follow the same four pillars as that of PFRS S1, but with climate-specific content and KPIs. Information is material if it could influence investor decisions. So companies must identify their sustainability-related risks and opportunities, assess which issues materially impact the company's prospects, disclose only what is material, avoiding noise, clutter, or generic statements, and document methodology to support assurance and regulatory review because they will be mandatory in a few years' time. Also, it gives a company credibility. Because PFRS fully aligns with ISSB and ISSB integrates SASB, Philippine companies are encouraged to use SASB in the industry metrics. So why does SASB matter? First, it identifies financially material sustainability issues by industry, also by sector. It helps companies avoid irrelevant disclosures, and it supports comparability across companies in the same industry, same sector. Climate-related risks and opportunities are framed around, I mentioned this a while ago, physical risks. We have acute and chronic, for example, storms, sea level rise, temperature changes, and transition risks, policy, technology, market, and reputational shifts linked to the transition to a lower emission economy. Companies must provide clear explanations of board oversight of climate issues, management responsibilities, how climate factors influence investments, capital allocation, and strategic direction. Investors would want to know not only what the risks are, but what the company is doing about them. Scope 1, 2, and bare material Scope 3 emissions must be disclosed with clear methodology, assumptions, and data source description. The standard expects scenarios consistent with a global temperature rise pathway to be used in assessing climate-related financial impacts, even if qualitative. Scenario analysis helps companies stress test their strategies. They must analyze how their business would perform under multiple climate scenarios, such as a 1.5 degrees Celsius world, a 2 degrees Celsius transition, or a high emissions pathway as high as 3 degrees Celsius. HSBC, for one, analyze what would happen if it became 1.5 to, I think, 2.5 as well, and 3 degrees Celsius. This reveals vulnerabilities, opportunities, and strategic blind spots. It helps to be proactive and to prepare for any climate impacts. How is mandatory sustainability reporting being implemented in the Philippines? Who is covered? All publicly listed companies, the ones I mentioned a while ago, the ones that were not required but were encouraged to report, but now they also cover large non-listed entities and government corporations classified as commercial public sector entities. So you have here SM Prime, Ayala, Philippine National Oil Company, and so on and so forth. Mandatory reporting in the Philippines has a three-tier phase rollout. Tier 1, Listed companies with market capitalization greater than 50 billion pesos as of December 31, 2025 must report in 2027 for the fiscal year 2026. So we also have tier 2, listed companies with market capitalization greater than 3 billion pesos but less than or equal to 50 billion pesos start reporting in 2028 for fiscal year 2027. Tier 3, small listed and large non-listed companies with annual revenues greater than 15 billion pesos start reporting in 2029 for fiscal year 2028. A mandatory, I mentioned this a while ago, hold on. A mandatory limited assurance and Scope 1 and 2 emissions is required 2 years after first applying PFRS S2. Who are the key regulators? I've mentioned some a while ago. Professional Regulatory Board of Accountancy, Philippine Sustainability Reporting Committee, Financial and Sustainability Reporting Standards Council, set the standard and are responsible for professional oversight. Securities and Exchange Commission, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and Insurance Commission are the sector regulators that require and enforce sustainability reporting. Okay, for the transition, the Philippines extends Scope 3 reporting relief to 3 years, as I mentioned, a few years. After 2 years of mandatory adoption, limited assurance will be required for all listed entities and large non-listed entities. This is not just a requirement. Like I said, it gives the company credibility. Expect governance-focused supervision, potential sanctions for non-compliance because it is mandatory, and reviews similar to those for financial reporting. Let me give a real example that shows just how the stakes are. When Typhoon Tino hit, it didn't just affect people and communities. It caused billions of pesos in damage across key industries. And get this, the sugar industry alone reported around 1.2 billion pesos in losses. One typhoon, one industry. That's how powerful climate events are in shaping financial outcomes today. This is why sustainability reporting isn't just about compliance anymore. It's not a side document or a PR nice to have. It's part of financial reality. Climate and environmental risks are showing up directly on balance sheets, and companies need to report them with the same seriousness as any financial metric. Businesses that treat sustainability reporting as just another requirement will likely fall behind. Those who approach it as real risk management, those who are proactive, and not wait for any climate impact, will likely survive and thrive in a changing world. Because that's what businesses should do. They should not just do good, but they also have to do well to be able to make an impact. Now that we know the rationale behind the adoption of ISSB in the Philippines, the next question is what should companies do now? For many companies, and I believe you can all relate, the hardest part is just knowing where to start. It's the same for everyone. So here's a simple roadmap to help you in your sustainability reporting journey. Think of sustainability reporting as an ongoing cycle. You don't need a 100-page report on day one. Well, with AI, it's possible, but I wouldn't recommend it. Start with what you already have, then build and improve over time. And remember, sustainability reporting is a journey. It's about progress, not perfection. Each cycle helps you gain clear insights and create stronger business value. Before you start the actual reporting process, these 3 principles make everything much easier. First, start with what you already have. Don't overthink it. Your your electricity bills, HR records, fuel receipts, and vendor information are enough to begin with. Second, don't aim for perfection on day one. In year one is also applicable. Your first report will have gaps, and that's normal. The goal is progress, not perfection. This is very important. The goal really is progress, not perfection. Third, sustainability is a team effort. Finance, HR, operations, procurement, everyone plays a part. The earlier involve them, the smoother it gets. Okay. Keeping these 3 rules in mind sets you up for a much more manageable and realistic reporting journey. Every business is different. A retailer, a manufacturer, or a service company will face different environmental and social challenges. So let's use McDonald's as an example. The entities inside the box represent the entities McDonald's should consider in its sustainability report. These include your raw ingredient supplier, food manufacturer, restaurant operations, and even the transportation of food to consumers, such as Grab and Foodpanda. Lastly, we also have to consider those that are not inside the box. External pressures such as regulations, customer expectations, and investor preferences. Once you've mapped out your boundaries and operations, the next step is to focus your efforts to those that really matter to you. That's where materiality comes in. Materiality is all about prioritizing. You can't report on everything and you shouldn't. Ask yourself, which ESG topics impact your business operations and reputation the most? And what do your customers, investors, or regulators care about the most? Let's take a look at this example. This is Globe Telecom. All right. As you go along the x-axis, impact the globe increases. As you go along the y-axis, influence the stakeholder increases. If you look closely, those that are at the top right are the most material topics of globe since they have the most impact because they not only impact the company, they also impact the stakeholders. After you've prioritized your key topics, the next step is to see what's already in your hands. Look at your existing records, electricity bills, fuel receipts, HR data for the number of employees, number of male and female employees. These are social indicators. Identifying what's already tracked helps you pinpoint what hasn't been tracked, the gaps, and then plan what to measure next. In this example, we have an electricity bill and a fuel receipt. For the electricity bill, we can directly identify our electricity consumption because it's there, while for the fuel receipt, the liters of fuel purchase is shown. As you can see, these documents have the necessary sustainability information that you need. You may think they're just superficial, but they're not. They're actually very informative, and you can use that in your sustainability reporting. That is why it's very important that your company also has a robust data collection system to record these things to ensure that when doing your reporting, your data is more likely complete and accurate. After you've mapped your current practices, the next step is to set your baseline, your starting point for tracking progress. So there must be a baseline for you to be able to track your progress. You can start simple, monthly electricity, water, or fuel use. At this stage, don't stress about accuracy. What matters most is consistency in collecting data. Here you can see examples of a supplier invoice for the purchase of raw materials, the one on the left, and an airplane ticket for business travel, the one on the right. Once your baseline is in place, the next piece is building the internal capacity of the organization, as I've mentioned a while ago. A good sustainability team is composed of finance, HR, operations, marketing, and legal. Finance can help with data. HR tracks social indicators, the number of employees, the number of female and male employees. Operations knows what's really happening on the ground. Legal helps to be aware of the current and upcoming ESG regulations your company might face because it's an ever-changing landscape. Having board oversight is also important to ensure you get the buy-in to support any sustainability initiative you want. But even for smaller companies, appointing a sustainability champion can make a big difference in keeping things coordinated and moving forward. Eventually, your company will grow, thus building the capacity of your employees early is important. We know that the Philippines has a tiered approach to mandatory sustainability reporting, the 3 tiers I mentioned a while ago. Preparing sustainability reports with third-party assurance will ensure better credibility for a company in the long run. So it's not only mandatory, it's also helpful for a company to be credible and to gain stakeholder confidence and attract capital. With the right people in place, the next step is to turn data into action. Start small. Maybe it's switching to LED lights or cutting down on waste. And then work your way towards better goals such as renewables or product redesign. A simple, clear timeline timeline helps make sustainability real, not just a buzzword, but part of everyday business planning. Here's a simple roadmap from SMOs. I'm sure everyone knows what SM Prime is. All right. As you can see, they started with one of their branches, SM North EDSA, building it to become sustainable. But as they progress into their sustainability journey, they replicated it with their other branches. In this case, with their branch in China, SMCT Shaman. Once your roadmap is in motion, the next step is setting clear targets to guide progress. Sorry. Start simple. Maybe a 5% cut in electricity use or recycling 30% of your waste. As your data becomes more consistent, you can widen your KPIs to include social and governance areas too. I have here sorry about that. I have here an example from Nestle. This one is very comprehensive, but you don't have to be this detailed. They've been doing this for years. Nestle aims to reduce their emissions by 20% by 2025, 50% by 2030 from 2018 levels. They have a baseline 2018 on the road to net zero by 2050 at the latest. So they're very ambitious. When developing your goals, you also have to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. I know it's cliche, but it's really important that you're able to measure your measure your targets and that it's realistic as well. I would I would also just to highlight that sustainability reports are public documents and you can readily access them and learn how others are doing it. You can check out the company's websites and check out their sustainability reports. I'm sure they have those for different years. And also Nestle, I've seen their most recent sustainability report. They were assured by sorry verified by Ernst and Young. So they've been doing this for years. Remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. I keep stressing this, but this is really important. Even a simple first year report helps build awareness and data discipline. Each cycle, you'll improve, your data gets sharper, your story clearer, and your team more invested in the journey. Many SMEs began with a one-page sustainability summary, but within 2 to 3 years, grew into full ISSB aligned disclosures. Sorry, not again. Sorry. Here you can see Microsoft's sustainability journey. Microsoft started in 2020 and their performance at the time was not perfect. They actually didn't have carbon removal projects. But 4 years later, they almost contracted 29.8 million metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Also, from 29,000 metric tons of diverted waste in 2020, it increased to almost 140,000 metric tons in 2024. Actually, Microsoft is one of the most ambitious companies when it comes to sustainability. They have very aggressive targets, but they are not perceived as a leader in sustainability because they don't leverage their sustainability communication. So that's also key, but that's for another talk. So once you've started, the journey doesn't stop there. Sustainability reporting isn't a one-time exercise. It grows and matures alongside your business. So it really is a journey. The key is to incorporate it into your strategy, not treat it like an annual checklist. The more you refine and improve, the stronger your resilience and credibility become. And here's the real upside. Companies that start early learn faster, attract better partners, and unlock more long-term value. According to the Boston Consulting Group's 2025 Private Markets Report, sustainability initiatives are not cost centers, they're actually revenue centers. Companies directly credit them for driving a 4 to 7% uplift in earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. You would think that that's only 4 to 7%, but that's actually a lot if you take into consideration the revenues of the company, of big companies. With that, I'd like to end my talk with this thought. I still think sustainability reporting is mere compliance. Think again. Thank you. And if you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them. Anyone? Um, uh, Anything you'd like to share if you don't have any questions? All right. I hope you understood the talk and that you've learned something from the talk. Okay, moving on. We run free talks every Monday, either at 11 a.m. or at 8:30 p.m. Singapore time, covering a wide range of sustainability topics. So we have one on June 1, June 8, June 15, and June 22. They're open to everyone. For more details on upcoming sessions, please check out our website at ecosustainability.group/events. Please join our LinkedIn and WhatsApp community for the latest updates, if not part of the community yet. Let's stay in touch. For inquiries, please contact our colleague CD. Here are her contact details. Once again, thank you and have a good rest of your evening.